From the lands across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring only sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Alright, welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, it is Atlantic Television Sports Talk, and it's time to take you through the happenings in sports. This morning we'll start from the sports ministry, or what they call the former sports ministry, because just yesterday, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has scrapped the Ministry of Sports and replaced it with the National Sports Commission, the NLC. This was the outcome of the Federal Executive Council Committee yesterday. The fate of John Owaneno is not disclosed, and the announcement was made by Bayo Onanuga, the spokesman to the Nigerian president. It is not just the Minister of Sports that has been affected, so also our regional-based ministries. In that regard, also is the Niger Delta Ministry, placing it with the Ministry of Regional Development oversees all the regional development commissions, such as Niger Delta Commission, Northwest Commission, Southwest Development Commission, Northeast Development Commission, and many more. The Federal Executive Council also approved the merger of the Ministry of Tourism with the Ministry of Culture and Creative Economy. Mike, a lot of persons saw what was coming, but before, of course, I bring you in on today's edition of the show. Mike joins us this morning to also take a look at some of the happenings here in sport. Mike, good morning and welcome to the show.
Morning, Temple, and morning to our side.
The first topic, of course, is the breaking news yesterday, where a lot of persons saw what was happening after the meeting. A lot of persons knew that, yes, the president has been talking about changing the narrative in terms of reshufflement of office ministries, but nobody knew, or maybe we did not know, because we are not part of the executive committee council, that this will result to returning back NLC and using it to take over the role of the sports ministry. But National Sports Commission, sports ministry, well, in the coming days, look at the dichotomy, but this is the update thinking. Is this suitable at this point in time?
I think for me it's a very big question whether the cabinet reshufflement is suitable, especially with regard to the sporting angle of it. I think at this point it's coming rather too early for me. Mr. President just came back from travel less than a week. Before you could know it, the next thing is a cabinet reshufflement. You begin to, do experiments in area that is very critical to helping the economy grow. Because sports is one area that is very, very central when it has to do with development and all that comes with it. And you are just, doing some sort of experiment, changing the name. Of course, I'm not against, the transmogrification of the nomenclature, whether sport ministry or national sport commission and all of that. But just like I said here yesterday, is it all about the change of name, or is it about the change of heart? Is it about the change of name? It's about the change of attitude? Is it about the change of name, or is it about the change on the attitude of the field leadership that we've seen in the Ministry of Sport over the years, where square peg seems to be put in a round hole? For example, John Owaneno was drafted in as a sport, was appointed rather as a sport minister when Mr. President came on board, and so many persons actually allayed so many fear because of the fact that, looking at the background of John Owaneno, he's not anything related to sport. He has no idea about what that is all about. But then, he was given such a strategic position. Less than 2 years where Mr. President came on board, he just came back to reshuffle that cabinet. And as it is right now, with this new reshufflement, The Minister of Sport, John Owaneno, will no longer hold sway as the Minister of Sport right now because he's been drafted to another different ministry. So you ask yourself, if actually in the first instance that Mr. John Owaneno has something to offer in the sport ministry and you brought him in, suddenly you are taking him away. Or is it that...
As a matter of fact, we are not even sure of his whereabouts now.
Yes.
In all the other ministries that they reshuffled the ministers, he is not, his name has not been mentioned in any of them. So you're asking, what is the fate of John Owaneno now?
The fate of John Owaneno shouldn't be our worry this time around. Our worry should be about, this National Sport Ministry that have been commission rather that have been instituted as to replace the Sport Ministry. The man that have been appointed to host.
But before we even go to the man, you when you started, your discourse, you said the dichotomy. You talked about what the duties of the sports ministry and why we are bringing the sports national sport. This is National Sports Commission has been there for a long time.
True.
But I do not know whether in the history of Nigeria, maybe we'll get to discuss more later. But I'm thinking that the role of the National Sports Commission and that of the sports ministry should vary. That is what a lot of persons have argued since yesterday. So when you are now making sports, when you are removing the ministry and parastatals are the nomenclature stands in for a particular reason. Commission also has its own reason entirely. So we're just looking at the function, the functional attitude, from the change in the nomenclature. Before we even talk about the key actors that will be functioning in those ministries, because the name you give it a thing matters a lot. So you're saying there's no more. Before it was National Ministries for Youth and Sports. It came down to National Ministry for Youth Sports Development. We're still battling with the development, and now we now have no more ministries but National Sports Commission, Mike. So it looks like I don't want to use that language, like saying maybe an ill-informed perspective, because the president may not know what is happening. He gets an advisor from the area who advises him on what to be done, or a group of persons who think that, okay, this is the problem of Nigeria. But I think that all is coming out from, all might have resulted as a result, or all might have, these are fallout from the just concluded Paris Olympic Games.
I do not think that this decision has to do with the fallout of the Paris Olympic game. I'm just thinking that Mr. President may be just trying to cut costs, and that is why they have been in measure of some. If you go through the script or through the communication from the spokesperson of Mr. President talking about Onanuga, you actually see that some other ministry as well has been merged. Yes. Maybe to reduce cost or thereabout. But then, the National Sport Commission, I think for me, it is more of central. But the Sport Ministry, I think for me, is more of a decentralized, where, chairmen of FA in different states can have a direct access easily to the Sport Minister and to the Sport Ministry. But the National Sport Commission, I think it is centralized. And that dichotomy between state sport ministry and the national sport ministry, I don't know how they are going to align. It's going to be very difficult, and that will hamper sports
and also
across the states.
And also the different sporting units and federations.
True.
So because what you are bringing is a very unique point. Dichotomy from the state down to the national, the federations who have direct access before now to the sports ministry.
True.
So now we are just thinking how, because once something is a commission, it's for a purpose, more like set up for a particular purpose. So that's the thing now. But let's look at the effort of John Owaneno, who you were trying to dissect. Could it be that he was part of this plan? Do you think, from the body language of what we are seeing, that he was part of this plan?
Maybe yes, maybe no. And of course, Mr. President has been very close to the man talking about John Owaneno. And that is why, I mean, it wasn't a surprise to so many when he was actually, appointed.
Yeah.
And it is very easy for Mr. President to also relieve him of that appointment because it is not an elective position. Talking about ministers, it's just solely an appointment from Mr. President, and he has a prerogative power as well, to unseat whoever minister rather that he appointed, because it's not an elective position, it's under appointment, and that is why it's very easy for him to be removed. Then you talk about the reason or whether Mr. John Owaneno was aware about this or not. I don't know. But then, one thing is very certain, that Mr. John Owaneno and Mr. President have been very close allies for a very long time. Now, my own worry is that for the fact that you've been a very close ally to, the senator, you brought him in, appointed him as the Minister of Sport, even at the detriment of the development of the game itself, a man that has no good background, a bad sport.
He said he's a farmer.
Of course he is. I know one of his farm out there in Cross River State. Then now the big question is, if this man seems to be a square peg in a round hole in the sports ministry, why bringing him in? Is it all about political compensation? During election, there are some people that played one or two vital roles, to helping Mr. President come on board. And of course, when you get to win election and you discover that there are so many strategic areas that you have so many people to appoint, then maybe you just look for one or two ways in order to settle some of the people that played vital role. And that is why some of these people that were brought in some of the ministry to head the ministry. Now, if actually Mr. President had the utmost confidence that Mr. John Owaneno, has what it takes to work or develop sport, and that is why it took him to the Ministry of Sport. Yeah. Why now relieving him of that appointment in that ministry? That is a big question. So it looks as though we're just doing an experiment. Okay. And it is very evident right now that the experiment is not bringing forth the good dividend, maybe to Mr. President, and that is why he has decided to do some of these reshufflements. For me, sometimes I'm so worried because of the fact that sport is one of the highest employer of labor.
That's correct.
When we begin to toy with sport development, then you begin to ask yourself, what will happen to the teeming youth out there that has no job? And of course, getting job right now in Nigeria, you know how difficult it is. You know how hard the economy is. And of course, sport is one of the veritable tools that, talented young men and women who have the potentials, to make a good mark for themselves and make a name and also put food on the table of their family, and then go further to make, stardom and become popular to represent the country. Now that the development of sport seems to be hampered because of this adjustment and reshufflement and all of that, it's more like taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward. Then you ask yourself, what will be the fate of the teeming youth who have engaged themselves or engaging themselves in 1 or 2 different sporting, activities out there? One, crime and criminalities will increase. Because if those youth are not given the proper platform, the sporting proper platform for them to exhibit their talent, they will now start to occupy their mind in different vices that will not be for the good of the nation. And that is why I'm so concerned that it looks as though we are toying with the Ministry of Sport, because we seem not to understand the major rules it is playing in our economy today to take so many people off the streets. There are people that are natural boxers, they fight along the street, but courtesy of boxing, they have channeled their energy of fighting into the street, into boxing ring to make name for themselves out there. So it is a big worry for me. But then let's keep our fingers crossed and hope to see the best of what Mr. President has in mind, whether it's for good intention. We are going to see that in a few, maybe months' time or years' time before Mr. President leaves office. But then I tell you, it is not a good development for me in terms of sport development.
All right, you heard from my there, and a lot of reaction praise the reshufflement of the ministers, and also the return of the National Sports Commission, which I guess will be joining us later in the evening to take a look at this particular one and what it poses, the opportunities and threats it poses for our for the country and in sports particular. But let's move on. Still on the outcome of the Executive Council yesterday, former second vice president of the Nigerian Football Federation and NFF boss Malam Shehu Diko has been appointed as the new chairman of the National Sports Commission, which now takes over from the Ministry of Sports Development. An alumnus of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, Diko brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in the sports industry, marked by his innovative ideas and a reputation as an astute administrator. His journey in Nigeria football administration saw him in 2004 served as a FIFA Go Project Manager, organizing several club tours between Portsmouth FC and Manchester United alongside Kano Pillars FC. In 2008, Diko became a consultant for the sports committee in the Nigerian House of Representatives, a role he had until 2011. During this time, he played a key role in drafting the National Sports Commission bill in the National Assembly. He led the Nigerian Professional Football League for many years and brought fresh ideas, growth, and stability to the league. His appointment to lead the National Sports Commission comes at a crucial time, and he's expected to leverage his extensive experience to foster sports. Mike, maybe we'll get to use him as our sports personality, this week. But a lot of issues, because this is the biggest issue now. And I tell you, in the next couple of weeks, it will be on the front burner for different reasons. But this, Shehu Diko, a man that a lot of person felt that he did. A lot of people were not too happy with the LMC. We saw how the LMC was scrapped, brought in a Bengali Belay board. From there, we now have the board back. So, what do you make of the appointment of Diko to lead the return of the NLC?
I think for me, we're still doing an experiment, which is what I'm actually against. Shehu Diko, you take a look at his CV and resume. He may want to say, yeah, he has the wealth of knowledge, because he's an astute administrator, having also acted or received that appointment from FIFA, to manage the FIFA project in 2004, played maybe one or two key roles there. Though during that time, I think for me it was that dormant. I did not see what he did during the era where he served as a FIFA project manager out there. Then again, moving forward, the National House of Assembly had to make him a consultant when it has to do with sport, related issues, which he actually held that office from 2008 down to 2011. And you ask yourself, where were the ideas that he brought to bear during that time? Or was he just being consulted by the House of Assembly then, for what reason actually? What reason was he being consulted then? Is it to develop the league? Is it to develop sport? Is it about infrastructural development? During his time, what do we actually see that we can lay hold to and say these are the positives that he was able to brought to bear? These are the ideas that he was able to craft out. Fast forward, being the head man at the LMC. Now you ask yourself, during that time, the level of sport development as at then and now, will you say it's the same? Of course, no. There has been massive level of improvement in our league so far, which you cannot say during the time that he holds sway as the chairman of the LMC. Then there were too many controversial issues during his tenure then. So for me, I just think that we are still doing maybe some sort of experiment. And then again, another thing that comes to mind is that don't we have young and vibrant youth that has new innovative ideas in this jet age where the world is evolving? But then they still revolve around their cronies, people that have hold sway that will continue to hear their name in the past, holding one or two different positions. Even up to this new generation, we are still seeing the same people, being appointed in some critical position. Don't we have some young youth that have some good ideas, that has what it takes, that have the proven integrity, the good track record as well, to man this position so that we can be able to see maybe a fresh ideas, a breath of new air into the system? But no, they keep recycling their cronies over the years. So it is a big problem. But then, let me not be pessimistic here. I will just keep my fingers crossed, hoping that all of these experiments that we are doing is not going to boomerang in the future.
But the truth is, while a lot of people commend the effort of the president, some still, like the opposition party, still feels that it is getting another wrong peg from a wrong hole to bring in another wrong peg. More like they call them. I'm looking for the right grammar. Okay, taking those who are not efficient and replacing them with another inefficient person. So it continues. But this evening, of course, we'll look at it proper again when we come for the for Sports Extraordinary. But let's move on now and let's talk about other issues in sports before we move on to what we have. Well, let's go to tennis now and let's talk about happenings from that side. Mike, it looks like a British has finally, has been stunned. The defeat from that side. But a lot of games are ongoing now in tennis, so you expect that tennis issues are just, this is the last period where expectations are high. One thing very certain is a lot of persons are targeting for point margin. Some just want to win something for themselves. And so it's expected that you get to see a lot of ATP 500, Masters, and all that this time around. But one thing very striking is to get to see how all this will turn out in the coming days. But Mike, is the year end, a lot of tennis activities already, and one begin to wonder how far these tournaments can go. Generally, what do you make of the activities of tennis, and of course how players are really struggling to meet up to the demand of time?
For me, I think the new ranking for the ATP and WTA just came out last 2 days ago. Yeah. I saw some of the big names in the ATP and still holding with the likes of Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, still maintaining number 1 and number 2 position out there before you talk about Novak Djokovic, Tsitsipas, and the rest of the names out there. Well, in the WTA, I think the only surprise package was seeing Iga Swiatek being dethroned by Aryna Sabalenka, courtesy of the fact that Iga Swiatek failed to take a mandatory part in some of the 500 ATP point event, which actually, did not work in his favor because the International Tennis Federation actually frowned at her, not competing or not taking part in some of those 500 ATP points out, and that is the reason why she was actually dethroned by Aryna Sabalenka. Though the point margin is not that high, but then I still think that it is not for her own good, because if Aryna Sabalenka continues to maintain her momentum in the final, ATP for the season or Grand Slam for the season, I think she's going to stay out there, only if she remains consistent. Then again, there are some other big name issues, that we just hear over the last few hours. The British player gotten injured out there, still battling for fitness and all of that. I tell you, in the world of tennis, there is not a lot that is happening right now as it is. We are just waiting for the last game, the last competition for the season, so that at least some of these players can go and rest and maybe get themselves refreshed and prepare for next season ahead. That is just what is coming from the world of tennis as it is right now.
Of course, Mara Raducanu also was one of those players that could not achieve her target at the Hong Kong Open. Let's move on now and let's talk about other issues in sports. America, the NBA generally, we saw a lot of games played in the early hours of this morning, and after the start yesterday games, it has fully come alive now and it's really bubbling.
Yes, of course, the NBA is bubbling, and we are expecting a lot of games tonight as well, as they continue to show their strength. But the regular big-name teams that you are expecting out there to, push for the championship title this season, they are also starting on a very good note as well. The likes of Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers, and some of these big teams. So we are expecting a lot from the NBA this week, because he has come alive, just like you said, and we've seen some mouth-watering games over the last 2 days.
Mouth-watering game. Detroit Pistons, the early hours of this morning, did their best at home, but they could not match the powers of Indiana Pacers. 109-115 it ended. Atlanta Hawks 121 against the Brooklyn Nets 116. Miami Heat were 96 to Orlando Magic 116. The Philadelphia 76ers, did their best, but the Milwaukee Bucks were just too superb for them. 109-124 it ended. Toronto Raptors were raptured at home. 106 by Cleveland Cavaliers 136. Houston Rockets also could not match Charlotte Hornets 105-110. The New Orleans Pelicans 123. Chicago Bulls 111, Utah Jazz 124, Memphis Grizzlies 126, Los Angeles Lakers 113, Phoenix Suns 116, and then Portland Trail Blazers 104, Golden State Warriors, what a way, Steph Curry 139. Some of these results very, very interesting, but we're going to talk more about that later when we come back. Let's go for a short break now. When we come back, we'll bring you more on football matters. This is Atlantic Television Sports Talk. Don't go anywhere.
From the lands across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
All right, welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, it is Atlantic Television Sports Talk. Michael is still here in the studio, and of course, we'll talk about a lot of other sports in the first half of the show. And it's time to talk football matters now. And let's start with the Nigerian National League, where the adjusted draw for this season's Nigerian National League season has been scheduled to hold very soon, and it looks like a lot of stuff there. Mike, the good thing is that we heard that the program will still go on. I mean, they will stage it very soon, and that's very important. 29th of October has been fixed for this particular one.
Yes, of course. The reason for the adjustment is quite clear. That they need to, some of the clubs, media officers need to attend some seminar out there, which will be held at the Ikene Township Stadium. That is Remo Stars Stadium out there. And they need to also get the new tricks or learn the new trade on about sports reportage, especially some of those media officers and the key actors, talking about the coaches, the assistant, backroom staff as well, so that we'll have an enhanced media communication out there. And that is why they have decided to shift the resumption date, so that at least they'll be able to put final touches in place, so that when the league gets to kick off, it's going to be more like a professional, in fact, a professional kind of media chat. Whenever we have a match day after the games, you hear some professional media chat out there from the coaches, match officials, and all of that. So for me, I think there is need for us to at least learn the new trade, so that at least we advance the course of sports and football development in the country.
And of course, that's also very important. But let's move on now to other matters. Kwara United Football Club are talking tough. They missed narrowly to getting a maximum point as a player. They won a draw to Academy Warriors a few days ago, March the 8th. But somehow it looks like they are also planning for what is to come. Moving on, let's talk about other areas. The Flamingos, I mean, the Falconets have been doing so well, Mike. We saw what played out last week when they were able to grind that result. They qualified and they played the United States of America, and they qualified in the next round, and that looks like a good one for them. But generally, if they can get that way, maybe get past the USA, which of course I feel that they will pose a very strong challenge, that might even be it.
Yeah, I think they are doing very well. In their first 3 games, they won all 3 games out there, scoring a total number of 9 goals, considered just a goal. Got 9 good points. So for me, I think they are doing very well. Their first game, they actually defeated their opponent 4-1. Second game, 4-0, and then the last game against Dominican Republic, which they actually won by a lone goal, cost of that lone strike. intact, keep the team in shape so that we get to see the harmony. One thing very striking is about the invitation this time around. It's made up of some of the under-20 girls that just finished, the women under-20 games. Then we have some other locally based players right here plying their trade in the Nigerian women, football league right here. Before we talk about the regulars, the likes of the captain of the side, Rashidat Jibade, and some of the big names are there. So for me, I just want to see a blend of these locally based players, the under-20 women players, and the regulars in the national team are there. But I tell you, Madugu seems to be the right man for this job, because a blend of locally based players and some of the foreign based players, I think this is where you get to balance strength and skills as well as so for me, I think I'm expecting a lot. These two games, these two friendly games that is to be played at the Mobilaji Johnson Arena, it's more like warm-up game for them to see the strength of the Super Falcons as it is right now. And I tell you, I think I'm very, very excited. Let's see what the Super Falcons can do after their disappointing outing in the last Olympic game, where they did not had an impressive display. Let's see this time around if they can be able to regroup and have that synergy while we wait for more of competitive games.
Actually, the Ajuke has been ruled out from the African Cup of Nations qualifiers against Rwanda.
Yeah, doctor came out to say that he has been ruled out for 3 good months because of the injury, the hamstring injury. I don't know. The doctor said it's an hamstring injury, but the coach says it's a muscle injury. I don't know, they want to believe. But then what is to be believed right now is Chidera Ejuke is out injured for Sevilla. In the next 3 months, he's not going to be around. He's going to miss, the remaining.
And that's
African
what a lot of
Cup
people fear for. His injury concerns has not really made him to get the best, even in his club sides.
Yeah, I think he looks to be an injury-prone player. Never fit. See that he get fit 2 months time, the next month he goes for an injury. Though he's a very fantastic player, because since he made his way to the La Liga side, talking about Sevilla, we've seen some of those good display from him. In fact, one of the best dribbler in the La Liga for this season as well. So for me, I think it's a big worry for Chidera Ejuke that injury seems to have blighted his performance so far for not just for Sevilla, but back there in CSK Moscow. We saw how injury actually dealt a heavy blow during his time out there as well. So I don't know, maybe you just need to take out time out of this 3 good months and properly do a medical check to see that he stops some of these injuries so that he can stay fit and be able to enjoy his game.
All right, let's wrap up this morning now with the UEFA Champions League result we saw yesterday. And Mike, we'll start with the big one. Bayern Munich, were beating. Beating. They showed class. I'm talking about Barca now. I think 4 goals to 1 it ended in favor of Barca yesterday. It could have been more, and we saw that it was an interesting game from the blast of the whistle down to the end. And the person think that the early goal scored by Barca also necessitated that withdrawal. But Bayern came back with the game, but somehow they couldn't just get their tactics right.
Yeah, it was not an impressive display from Vincent Kompany and his Bayern side. But then I think we saw a bit of difference between the two teams. The team that is willing to improve, and the team that just felt relaxed, maybe because of their past glory or past experience in the Champions League, having won the competition a record 6 times, for themselves, coming up against a Barca side that have not been able to defeat this same Bayern Munich in the last 8 years right now. I think the last time Barca actually had a beta of Bayern Munich is 2016. Ever since then, Bayern Munich have been beating Barca, so I think it's a statement of intent from the Hansi Flick boys. And I tell you, one man you need to also talk about is Rafinha. He seems to be the flagship of the team right now. I mean, he's scoring goals for fun as it is right now. More like the prime of Rivaldo during his time at Barcelona as well. putting up an impressive display yesterday. You know, a top-notch performance, man of the match, scoring a hat-trick, and you look as though it's becoming a thing of tradition for the Brazilian players.
Yeah,
Two
all
days
over.
ago, you saw
Vinicius
Vinicius Junior, you know, coming back to haunt, you know, Dortmund with that scintillative display out there. Yesterday as well, Rafinha also came up very strong for the Barca, the Catalan side, to, you know, give them that impressive display. Ended 4-1, and I think Vincent Kompany at this point in time, so many persons are beginning to question his, you know,
exactly, because a lot of things, the Bayern that we knew or that we know before now, we always come back to that game. But somehow we saw a very energetic side, youthful exuberance, but tactically they were not at it. I mean, and you look at the Barca side, who also have same strength. You know, tactically they were in for it, and you ask yourself, it's just the difference between it. What we saw yesterday is just tactics.
Exactly, it's just simple as that. Hansi Flick had a beta. This same Hansi Flick that defeated Barca 8-2 last 2016. He was in charge for Bayern Munich. This time around, is the other side of the divide.
Just saying that, come on, honor me and get it done.
As that. And I think for me, they are one of their greatest players. Well, Robert Lewandowski, who also did very well for Bayern Munich, also came back as well to score against his former side as well. And of course, you can't forget Yami Lamar, though he didn't score, but then provided some of, you know, those pinpoint passes, those defense-splitting passes out there. I think you need to give it to Barca. And building up to the El Clasico this weekend, that is a statement of intent. And Madrid need to be very wary of the Barca attack.
Like, truly, they need to be very wary, because the attack I saw yesterday and the flair, I mean, I love the fluidity. The flexibility I saw with the young lads, you know, making things. I mean, it read my mind, and I feel that, man, Barca really have a lot going for them. The Barca team I saw yesterday was more like the same Spanish team that won the Euros, you know. So I'm just thinking that if Hansi Flick continues his good job, we'll get to see Barca doing great things in time to come. Other results, we'll talk about them when we come back later on the show. Do enjoy the best here. Many thanks to you, Mike, for joining us as usual, to take through our viewers all that we have in sports this morning.
Always a pleasure.
We'll be back this PM when we take a look at the Champions League. At the front burner this evening will be the appointment of Shehu Diko, and also the fate of John Owen Eno, and a lot of other political matters. So it will be more like political than you know, sport. But all is to bring you the best of sports on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Ekpo Temple. Do have a lovely day. Join us tomorrow, same time here on ATM Sports Talk.